Last night, my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill-out night after dinner. She went to the den and was watching her programs while I flipped between watching the Spurs football game and doing some odds and ends that I had planned. Next thing you know, she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff at around midnight. I went to check on her and see she was out cold on the couch. I went to scoop her up and her iWatch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Haha, I can't do that. My name would knock 7 shades of shit out of me. Emoji face." Emoji face. I wondered what the fuck that was all about. So I pressed on it, and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now, I wouldn't say this guy's a close friend of mine, but he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years, drink with, and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him Jacket Holder because when we got into scraps as teens, he'd always be the guy holding the jackets while everyone else went for it. Right. So as I said, I push on the conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist and scroll up to the top. And as far as I can tell, it's him that contacts her first. Unless she's deleted, there's lots of flirting and wink-winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night, and when she's drunk, she starts openly begging him for sex. I couldn't believe my frigging eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words. But she was saying crap like how much she had always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something. And the last one that freaking killed me, that she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll in her watch, but couldn't find any other messages. And I don't know her phone passcode. I put her in her bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep, then get up for work around 5:30. When I went to get in my work van, I just slunk down on the wheel and realized I couldn't face it. So I went back in the house and grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka filled to the top with Coke and went on a walk down the railway line. We live beside a lot of woodland and a disused railway line that goes for miles. I walked about half the length. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a friggin' troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You probably think there's a fire going from about a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her. I can't even bear to look at her after reading that crap. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air. After reading her bag, you might. That frickin' yacht. I honestly want a ghost or man. If I could, I would never speak to her again. The whole I'm great at keeping secrets was the thing that really got me, though. Like, who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go? I don't care if I'm being honest. I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested so much in her, not just as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much and thought her personality and, by extension, my personality, reflected that of good people. To realize she's a backstabbing snake makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or a rapist or just downright freak. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered because you've took on board what they've said and invested time into a creep. I'm rambling. Nonsense. I apologize. I'm lucky in that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved into a retirement village and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die. But I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems, etc. And I wanted to see out their final days in peace. So when we do divorce, my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here, it went through my mind to get my maid who's a locksmith to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyways, as long as I'm about. Then after she's done, lock the front door and tell her to come out and look at something out the back. When she comes out, just run back in and lock the door behind me." That sounds so childish, though, doesn't it? Seriously, though, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm staring at a bottle right now, and my life feels like it has been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here. There's also no doubt I wouldn't have caught wind of this at all, so I'll be seeing him very soon. Never mind holding jackets. He'll be holding his face at it. Have went to a friend's house to calm down. I threw the bike away. She's been texting me, asking me where I am as my work. Van is still in the driveway. I texted her saying there is a problem with the engine, so I got a lift into work. I'll make my move tonight. Before we continue reading, I just want to share what I think anyone should do if they catch their spouse cheating. To begin with, you definitely want to get an STD test done as soon as possible, and then speak to an attorney about your divorce options and how to go about them legally. You really don't want to mess this up because of the awful financial and emotional implications it can have. Get into her phone and collect any evidence. You can't keep multiple backups at different places. Most likely it will not be useful in court, but you can use it to show friends and family, especially her parents, and let them see her disloyalty firsthand. It will also serve as a useful tool to help you keep your resolve. Start individual therapy for yourself ASAP, because drinking is not the answer. It will only prolong the pain. And finally, keep what you know hidden from her. Don't confront her just yet. First, get your ducks in a row, and then confront her once you have her in checkmate. Now, let's check in on the update. So yesterday, after I had written the post and was in a complete mess, 2 dog walkers came over to check on me as I was obviously concerning them. I told them everything. They listened, and the first thing one of them said to me was, "Son, the worst thing you can do right now is drink. It'll cause carnage." I have to thank you for that, because I was on the highway to hell at that point. I threw the vodka away, got in touch with a friend, and he said I could come to his for a while to calm down. He was at work, but told me where the spare key was. We live in a small town of around 15,000 people, and he wasn't too far away. So once I got there, I sat on his couch, just trying to calm down. Throughout the morning, I was getting multiple texts and phone calls from my wife, asking where I was and what the hell was up, as my work van was still sitting in the driveway and I was nowhere to be seen. I texted her back telling her there was a problem with the engine, so I got a lift into work where she seemed to buy, and she just texted back saying, "Okay." When my friend got back from his work at about 5 a.m., I told him everything that had happened and asked him his opinion. I also told him not to tell anyone about jacket holder, as that might get back to my wife, which I didn't want at this point. I would deal with him later. By that I mean I'll expose a little rat. He is knocking the crap out of him. Doesn't help me at all as of now. As an aside to the people saying he's done nothing wrong, he messaged my wife first. He was being extremely flirty. What the fuck is even playing it? Messaging my wife for in the first place? He only knows her in passing from afar. Look, I've got no problem with 2 adults conversing with each other, but they hardly knew each other. And it was flirty from the start, as far as I could tell. I think they've seen each other while out and about, and it's gotten flirty then. So my friend convinced me to try and keep a low profile and see what I could dig up. But at the same time, speak to a lawyer and get the ball rolling in terms of finding out my options, which I have done today. He told me home about 6 sucks, and I was honestly dead on my feet by that point. I think the adrenaline pumping the entire day, then suddenly stopping knocks it right out of you. So I was extremely tired when I got home. The second I walked through the door, I knew something was up as my wife was on me right away, asking me all sorts of questions about work. I asked her why does she even care? And she said that I'd left my big flask and my lunch bag in the front passenger side seat, and something's been up today. She could feel it. I was just about to lie, but I was just too tired. I couldn't be bothered putting any sort of charade up. So I just said, "Yeah, there's something up there." When I was putting her drunken self to bed last night, a message came up on her iWatch, which I read and all the other ones, and that she was a freaking disgusting cheat that I wanted nothing more to do with. Her demeanor went from an arms-crossed person in power to scared little girl within about a second. Good at keeping secrets and begging that little rat for sex. Yep, read it all. Started sobbing, and I just walked away and upstairs into the shower. When I got out, she was sitting on the top stairs crying still, and the excuses started right away. How she was drunk, vulnerable, had never done anything like that before. How he had messaged her first, and it didn't mean anything. She was never going to go through with it. Pretty much everything that everyone on here was saying, she would say, like she had the playbook out. The only thing she didn't do was try and blame me. She probably knew I would have thrown right out the door if she had tried that crap. I told her that I wanted a divorce and her out of the house within a month. Also told her that she was moving to the spare room. I've been pretty much ignoring her ever since, just scowling at her and shaking my head when she starts waffling nonsense. I don't want to hear it. She slept in the spare room last night, and I haven't spoken to or texted with her at all today.